Hello everyone, it's time to work with block states. In previous episode, we learned the theory behind block states. However, before we go forward, I want to talk about a mechanic that I will use for one item. Now, you remember that we have this OR in front of us called and the right OR. And the mechanic I was looking after is that if I blast them using TNT, they will change their type and become cracked enderite ore, as you see. And well, that was a single line of code, so I implemented it already, and we will talk about it in a few minutes later. However, I have this item, and it's an empty chalice, and then I have a full chalice. Now, the empty chalice is just a crafting recipe. However, for the full chalice, I could go with different approaches. One was by right-clicking on a source block of water with an empty chalice, and it would become the chalice. However, I chose another approach, and that was just a shapeless recipe crafting. And that's it. However, the function that I'm looking for is that if I right-click with the chalice in any place in the world, that I can put water in it, this should become an infinite water source item. And we had seen some mods adding it. Honestly, it's not overpowered considering that I'm using an ender pearl and few gold plates and other stuff. I would say that it's not overpowered at all. First, let's take a look at this mechanic. We are using TNT blast on enderite ore, and we are converting it to ore and enderite cracked. How is that possible? If you look, I created this ore enderite block. Ore enderite block is just extending block, and the whole magic is happening here. We are overwriting the undestroyed by explosion. Now, explosion means that if creepers explode near it, it will happen again. Get causing entity, it would be the player here, and other stuff. Basically, if you look into that, you may find a way to identify the difference between explosion of creeper or TNT. However, because this block sits inside the end dimension, you wouldn't have creepers there normally. So the only way of having normal explosion there would be TNT. Okay, if that is happening, if something exploded and tries to destroy this block, what we do is that we go into the world and we set the block state on the position. Go back and watch the theory video, and you will see that we have this cheat code, word.set block state on a position, and we are doing it. Basically, we have a position, and we want to set a block state. Basically, we want to set a new copy of a block in a position, but the block is not the same block. We go with mod blocks and the right cracked ore. We get the default state of this new block, and we place it in the world. So basically what we are doing is that, hey, we know that end ore is exploded. It's destroyed, okay? But instead of dropping some item, because this block does not have a loot table provider, so it will not drop anything. Instead of dropping anything, we are saying that, okay, in your place, we want a new block. That new block is the cracked version. And for the cracked version, we have a default state of that cracked version. We get the state, we get the position, and we create a new copy. This is the simplest way of using block states. Let's go into the chalice item. And as you see, it's just a simple item that has nothing in it. It's just registered, added to item groups, and things like that. Now, if you look at any source in vanilla that has the same functionality, basically carries water around and can put the water on the ground, the thing that comes to our mind is water bucket. And if you look at the water bucket registration, we see that it is the type of bucket item. So I opened the bucket item here, and we will take a look at this, read it line by line, understand it line by line, and see how we can implement our own idea. This is a video all about looking into vanilla, understanding the vanilla, and then implement our own example. At the same time, it's a good practice for block states. Okay, as you see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 methods. The one is that unemptied. Okay, we don't want to empty anything, but let's take a look at that. And as you see, it does nothing. Thanks God, we are face to face with 4. This one is obvious, play emptied sound. So it's playing a sound here and there. Okay, I want to have it. So I will copy it. I will come back to the chalice. I will paste it, and I will start reading it. Remember, just copy pasting means that you will have tons of errors. Now, if you'll notice, we are asking for a player, for a word, for a position, that's okay. But we have error here. Fluid dot is in lava. Okay, if you come back and take a look at what is this fluid, you see that it's a private field on top. Because the bucket item can carry water and lava around, this is the case for this guy. However, I'm just carrying water around. I'm not gonna do the same thing with lava because honestly, I think it will break the balance of the game in total in general. We shouldn't have infinite lava source like this. Of course, we have lava farms now, but just an item that would put lava with right click, it's a little bit OP in my opinion. So we don't need this part. All we need is to make sure that the sound that we want is item bucket empty because it's empty lava and well, it's just item bucket empty. Now it says play the sound, player position sound event, and that's this guy, with the blocks with this pitch and volume, and then emit game event fluid plays. I don't like it. I don't know why Vanilla had done this, but in my opinion, when you call your method play emptying sound, all it should do is to play sound. Also, this can become an internal param and it can become like this, and we get rid of this guy. Also, if we are going to just play a sound in a single line in this method, why should we have a method? Because I am going to take it out of the method to emit any events. And looking at that, in my opinion, this method is not what we want to have there. Now we have an override, and that is place fluid. If we take a look, it's extending item and implements fluid modification item. And place fluid, let's take a look. Go to declaration or usage. Implementation is the same. So declaration is inside bucket item, bucket item. Okay, let's take a look at this guy, and it's unemptied and place fluid and unemptied are coming from this interface. Okay, now we will take a look at them later, but one thing at a time. Get emptied stack. If not player is in creative mode, new item stack of empty bucket, otherwise the stack, well, that's not what I want because we are not going to empty our chalice. If you want to empty our chalice and give an empty chalice, this is where you should handle it. And instead of items.bucket, you return items.empty chalice. Okay, use and this place fluid. These are the two methods that are doing the heavy duty here. Now, logically, we should start with the use because use happens when you right click with the item in the world. We get the item stack in hand and we are doing a raycast, and fluid handling should be either fluids.empty. Oh yeah, if we don't have any fluid in the item, there we are looking for sources only. Other than that, means that if we have water or lava in the bucket, we are looking for this guy, raycast context fluid handling none. Then we see if we missed anything, then we just pass. If we are not hitting a block, if we are hitting anything other than a block, again we pass. Finally, when we get here, we hit something that is a block. Okay, understandable. Then we start with a block position. That's where we are hitting it. The direction that we hit, we had seen it before, and we offset in the direction of this guy. Means that if, for example, we are from top to bottom, remember the direction will be up, and we want to go upward, the block on top. If we are looking at north direction, then the direction will be south here, and we want to go one block in the south direction to get the block that should be the place of a water block that we want to place in the world. Okay, then we say if can player modify at block position, if we can't modify it, or we cannot place on this new block with this direction using this item stack, then we should fail. Now, I'm not sure if I want to use this part. Can place on, no Java documentation. Thank you. Let's take a look at this code now. What is the use case of stack? Okay, it's checking that the pose.offset facing, if the stack can place something on somewhere. Okay, so we should do can place on, I think, or we can totally ignore it. Let's see. I will try to ignore it or put it and see what happens later. Okay, else if this fluid is empty, means that we are clicking with empty bucket here. Okay, we should ignore this whole thing. If you want to read, yes, we are getting a block state from the position that we clicked on. and then we check if is a fluid drainable, means that we can take it out, like a solid fluid being water or lava. If that's the case, then we get a new item stack, try drain the fluid on the item stack, increment state. Okay, it's the usage of item, it's the states of that. Fluid drainable, get bucket fill sound. Okay, we don't need that. Emit game event, because we picked up a fluid, for example, if it's water, then any flowing water should be removed from the world related to this source block, and this is why it's emitting an event. Then another item stack is exchange stack. Basically, it's exchanging the empty stack with this stack now that is full. And then if we are not client, criteria field bucket trigger for the user with this item stack and return. Okay, now when we are here, it means that we have fluid inside the bucket. Now we want to get this stat of the block pose. This block pose is the original hitting block pose of our raycast. So we want to see what is the block that we clicked on it. Then we get the position of that and we check if is fluid fillable, means that we can fill that place with fluid, and this dot fluid is water, then block pose. If it's lava, we go with block pose 2, that is the offset one. Then we say this dot place fluid, and we will call this method here. So we want to place the fluid with block pose 3, that is the final block pose, and with the hit result. And then we call this on emptied, and this is where we empty the bucket. We will ignore this one. If we are the server player entity, we trigger the placed block and increment the stats. Item stack 2 is again exchanging the full bucket with empty bucket. We don't want that. And try action result success, and that's it. Now, place fluid, it says that if it's flowable fluid, so if we are something that we can flow, basically water or lava. If we are not, then return. Okay, then we create a block, a Boolean variable, and a block state, and another Boolean variable. Wow. Then we say we get the block state at the position we sent in. Remember, in the case of water, it's the block that we click on it. So we get that block state, and honestly, if we don't use pose more than once, yes we do, we could have done sending in the block state itself. Okay, then we say block equals to block state dot get block. This returns the block type, not the block in the game. And then we say block state can bucket placed with the fluid. And if we take a look, again, no Java doc, but I assume that it is checking if we can put the water or not. And if we take a look at that method, it says get the block, can bucket place the block state fluid, get there, is replaceable, and is not solid. Okay, going back to the rabbit hole. Then we go if, now this is interesting, we go with labels here, and we break. Okay, if not block state is air, and not that can place, then we say block instance of fluid fillable, can fill with fluid. If those are the case, we break. Otherwise, we set the new Boolean to false, and at the end, we send it to true. It says if we are not accepting this, means that, remember, this is true, making it not makes it false. So if that was true, basically here, means that we were air, or we could place something. Then we say hit result is not null, and this dot place fluid hit result get block pose offset get side with the hit result as null. Otherwise, get dimension ultra var, fluid is in water. Okay, we get the position, we play the sound and add particles, and that's it, we return. So basically we are in one of those biomes that we can't place water. Ultra warm means nether. Otherwise, fluid fillable, okay, fluid is water. Then we say fluid fillable, try fill with fluid on the word with this position, block state with fluid state, get still, false, this dot play empty sound, and here is the sound and event. And if it's not client, we should break the block. This happens on the grass and stuff like that. If not, word that set block state with the fluid, get default state, get block state, notify all and redraw. Okay, basically, if we can't make the block sit in the word, and that's the block states here, then return false. Otherwise, we did put the block in the word and we handled everything. So just play the sound and play the event. Okay, long story short, we are getting the result of a raycast, its direction, and the offset. Then we are getting the block state of the position that we hit the raycast. And we check if we are water or not. In our case, we are. And we can fill that block state with the water. If that's the case, we want to place the water in the word, and this is doing all of that. We are not emptying anything, and then we just add the criteria of place the block and increment some statistics on the player. We don't change any items and just return success or fail based on the condition. Now, the whole magic in the place the fluid, we are checking that we should be water or lava, in our case, water. Then we get the block state, few different conditions. If this is basically early exit of a recursive call, because this is a recursive call. So we get the block state again, we get the block type of it, and we check if we can place the fluid using bucket there, if it's air, or if we can place, basically here it means that we are on a block that is not air, okay? And we can't place fluid inside that block. For example, it's a stone. Then we check if it's fluid fillable. It's waterloggable here this time and can fill with fluid. And the rest is happening here. Either we put the block on the block itself or on the offset. Okay, let's see what happened. Between the pause and returning back, I placed almost all the code from bucket item inside the chalice. Let's go back and read it from top to bottom. So on the use, we get the item stack and we do a raycast. But as you see, I dropped if we should handle the fluids or not based on the logic, because we always have water in our bucket. And then if we are missing the hit or we are not hitting a block, we will return, we just pass. At this stage, we are sure that we are hitting on a block with the raycast. So we get the original block that the raycast is hitting and the direction opposite to where we are looking and the offset in that direction with one block. Now we check. If we can't modify the original block or we can't place on the offset and the direction using this item stack, then we just fail. Other than that, when we get here, we are sure that we can use our chalice and we can put the butter in the blocks and stuff like that. So we say block state. Now this is the copy of the block sitting on the original raycasted position. Now we get the position and now we want to find a new position. The thing is that the original block that we hit with the raycast can be a waterloggable block or it can be a solid block. If it is the waterloggable, then it's fluid fillable. We want the origin block position. If it's a solid block, meaning that it's not fluid fillable, then we go with the offset. We try that block. When we got the final block, we try to place fluid in that position. If we were successful, we just add a criteria. Now this criteria will be fired up and we'll change things like achievements and quests and things like that on other mods. Then we increment the state of using this chalice item once. This is really not necessary. And then finally, we send in success. If we hit here, means that we couldn't use the chalice, so we fail. We don't pass here because if we pass, we can see the animation and we don't want to see the animations. Now, place fluid is where this labeling craziness is happening. And honestly, I'm keeping it as it is because I couldn't figure out a clean way of getting rid of labels, and I think they will work. The thing is that we get a target block state, a target block, and two booleans. The block state is the block state on the position that we finally defined, and that block is the block type of that block state. Finally, we check if we can use the bucket to place fluids on this block state. Means that if it's waterloggable or not, or if it's solid or not. Some blocks may return false, means that they don't allow usage of a bucket of water on them. Okay, if the target block state is not air and we can't place the water bucket in it, we check if the target block itself is fluid fillable. If that's the case, we check if we can place the water fluid inside that block, means that we are waterloggable. then we break. Otherwise, we assign place in a spot to false and we break out. If we break out of here at this stage, we make the place in a spot to be true, meaning that the whole section is responsible of figuring if the block itself is waterloggable or not again. If that's the case, we check. If we should not place in a spot, means that we are hitting on a solid block, then we just check if the hit result is not null. This is a recursion call breaking chance here. And then we recursively call ourselves. This time we set back the hit result to be null. Basically, in this state, we go back and we do all the things other than this section because we are checking if the hit result is null and we are sending null. So we won't fall in here, we will follow there and we will place the block, and in this section, we are not recursively calling ourselves. That is our safe exit. This will cause a water block placement on the opposite side. However, if we are making this decision, the final decision, and we found our position, either it's waterloggable or we found a new offset block and we want to place the water there, then we have our XYZ positions of that block. However, we check if we are in the ultra warm environment. If we are in an ultra warm environment, means that we are in nether, then we just play the sound, we place the particles, and we go out of the method. Finally, we check if we are a loggable block. If that's the case, we just fill it with water, play the sound, and emit the event going out. Other than that, we are dealing with air in front of a solid block that we found. So we check if we are not client and we can place, and the target block state itself is not liquid. In that case, we break the block. This happens in the times that water hits seed, for example. Finally, we are here. We try to put the water as the solid state with notifying all around and redrawing the water. If we were not successful, we say that return false. If we were successful, means that we put the block and we made sure that the block beside of it now is not a solid one. Then we play the sound and emit the event and exit. Basically, the whole thing is the same logic from the buckets. The only difference is that we always use water and we don't replace the water with empty block and stuff like that. Okay, let's dive into the game and see if it works, hopefully. We go into a new game and I will empty few spaces. I will come out of the creative mode and I will place a bucket and it flows. Now I place another one, the middle one becomes source block. If I hit one here, the water is actually behaving properly. And now we have a source block and I have infinite source of water. And that's the whole thing. So now, luckily, we have a water block that we can put inside the word infinitely, and that's fun, isn't it? And as I said, I don't consider this as a very overpowered situation because if you take a look at the recipes, for example, this guy needs an empty chalice, 3 blocks of 3 irons, actually, I think a bucket. Yeah, these are 3 ingots, okay? And then the chalice itself needs gold plates. 5 gold plates means 20 gold. And I will change this gold rod to maybe ender rod or ender pearl rod. I don't know. But I think gold rod is okay. And it means that 1 extra ingot of gold. So 21 gold, 1 ender pearl, 3 ingots of iron just to have infinite water. I would say that it's completely balanced in my opinion.
If you like these videos, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button and turn on that bell so that when I publish a new video, you will get informed. Have fun everyone. Bye.